Anti-Shi'ism is the prejudice against or hatred of Shia Muslims based on their religion and heritage. The term was first defined by Shia Rights Watch in 2011, but has been used in informal research and scholarly articles for decades. The dispute over the right successor to Muhammad resulted in the formation of two main sects, the Sunni and the Shia. The Sunni, or followers of the Way, followed the caliphate and maintained the premise that any member of Quraysh could potentially become the successor to the Prophet if accepted by the majority. The Shia, however, maintain that only the person selected by God through the Prophet could become his successor. Thus, Imam Ali became the religious authority for the Shia people, militarily established and holding control over the Umayyad government. Many Sunni rulers perceived the Shia as a threat, both to their political and religious authority. The Sunni rulers under the Umayyads sought to marginalize the Shia minority, and later the Abbasids turned on their Shia allies and further imprisoned, persecuted, and killed Shias. The persecution of Shias throughout history by Sunni co-religionists has often been characterized by brutal and genocidal acts, comprising only around 10 to 15% of the entire Muslim population. To this day, the Shia remain a marginalized community in many Sunni Arab-dominant countries without the rights to practice their religion freely or to become established as an organized denomination. Historical persecution. Umayyad, the grandson of Muhammad, Imam Hussein, refused to accept Yazid I's rule. Soon after, in 680 CE, Yazid sent thousands of Umayyad troops to lay siege to Hussein's caravan. During the Battle of Karbala, after holding off the Umayyad troops for 6 days, Hussein and his 72 companions were killed, beheaded, and their heads were sent back to the Caliph in Damascus. While Imam Hussein's martyrdom ended the prospect of a direct challenge to the Umayyad Caliphate, it also made it easier for Shi'ism to gain ground as a form of moral resistance to the Umayyads and their demands. Siege of Baghdad. After the Mongol sack of Baghdad in 1258, prejudice against Shias became more frequent, reminiscent of blaming Shias for every problem. Persecution under Seljuk Ottoman Empire. In response to the growth of Shi'ism, the Ottoman Empire killed Shias in Anatolia. Hundreds of thousands of Shias were killed in the Ottoman Empire, including the Alevis in Turkey, the Alawas in Syria and the Shia of Lebanon. India. In the past, Shias in India faced persecution by some former Sunni rulers and Mughal emperors, resulting in the martyrdom of Indian Shia scholars like Qazi Nurullah Shustari and Mirza Muhammad Kamal Dehlavi, who are two of the 5 martyrs of Shia Islam. Shias also faced persecution in India and Kashmir for centuries by the Sunni invaders of the region, which resulted in the killing of many Shias, and as a result most of them had to flee the region. Shias in Kashmir in subsequent years had to pass through the most difficult period of their history. Plunder, looting and killing, which came to be known as Taraj, virtually devastated the community. History records 10 such Taraj, also known as Taraji Shia, between 15th to 19th century in 1548, 1585, 1635, 1686, 1719, 1741, 1762, 1801, 1830, 1872, during which the Shia habitations were plundered, people killed, libraries burnt and their sacred sites desecrated. The community, due to their difficulties, went into the practice of taqiyya in order to preserve their lives. Villages disappeared, with community members either migrating to safety further north or dissolving in the majority faith. The persecution suffered by Shias in Kashmir during the successive foreign rules was not new for the community. Many of the standard-bearers of Shi'ism, like Sadat or the descendants of the Prophet Muhammad and other missionaries who played a key role in spread of the faith in Kashmir, had left their homelands forced by similar situations. Present-day India is a secular state, and adherents of Shia Islam in India are free to practice their faith freely. Additionally, the day of Ashura, listed as Muharram, and the birth date of Ali are recognized as public holidays. However, Shia Muslims in Kashmir are not allowed to practice mourning on the day of Ashura. The state government of Jammu and Kashmir has placed restrictions over Muharram processions, which is seen as opposite to the right to freedom of religion that is fundamental right of Indian citizens. Every year clashes take place between the mourners and Indian guards on the eve of Karbala martyrdom anniversaries. China. Most foreign slaves in Xinjiang were Shia Ismaili mountain Tajiks of China. They were referred to by Sunni Turkic Muslims as Gulcha, and enslaved because they were different from the Sunni Turkic inhabitants. Shia Muslims were sold as slaves in Khotan. The Muslims of Xinjiang traded Shias as slaves. Modern times. Egypt. While Shia activists claim the number exceeds 8 million, the Salafists say there are only a few thousand. Estimated numbers of Egypt's Shias range from 800,000 to about 2 to 3 million. The Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs estimates the Shia population of Egypt at 800,000. The rise of Salafi belief has increased hostilities towards Shia, Sufi and minorities. 4 Shia Muslims were killed in the village of Zoyat Abu Musalam, after hardline preachers goaded townspeople into a mob attack. 8 arrested in Egypt after sectarian lynch mobs kills 4 according to Brian Whitaker. In Egypt, the small Shia population is harassed by the authorities and treated with suspicion, being arrested, ostensibly for security reasons, but then being subjected to torrents of abuse by state security officers for their religious beliefs. For decades, international organizations, including the UN, Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International, have documented instances in which Egyptian Shias have been targeted for their religious beliefs. A December 2012 report by UN refugee agency UNHCR highlighted the fact that Shias still cannot openly practice their religious rituals in Egypt. Hasiba Hadj Sarouer told the UNHCR that many groups were being prosecuted for alleged blasphemy. U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom continues to label Egypt as a country of particular concern in terms of systematic violations of religious freedom. In December 2011, Egyptian security forces prevented hundreds of Shias from observing Ashura religious celebrations in Cairo's El Hussein Mosque, a Shia holy site. Police forcibly removed the Shia worshippers from the mosque after Salafi groups accused them of performing barbaric rituals. Malaysia banned Shias from promoting their faith. 16 Shias were arrested on 24 September 2013 for spreading their faith. The Malaysian government is seeking to prevent Shia Islam from spreading, despite the country's hosting a 250,000-strong Shia population. Home Ministry Secretary-General Datuk Seri Abdul Rahim Muhammad Razi announced last year that Shia followers, who were only a small community of 3 camps 10 years ago, in our population of 250,000, including 10 active groups across Malaysia. The development of information technology is among the factors for their growth, as the teachings are spreading through a range of social sites, Razi said, urging that the Shia movement be rooted out. The ISA was used on several occasions to target Shia in Malaysia. 10 Shia were arrested in 1997 under the ISA, and another 6 suffered the same fate in October 2000. The federal system has also meant that adherence to the anti-Shia fatwa has not been standardized, even among those states in which it carries legal force. In December 2010, for example, 200 Shia were arrested by the Selangor Islamic Religious Department for celebrating Ashura under the Selangor State Sharia criminal enactment law. 4 years later, 114 Shia were arrested by the Perak Islamic Religious Affairs Department with assistance from the Malaysian police. Bangladesh. There has been a lot of instances of violence against Shias in Bangladesh. For example, on October 24, 2015, a Shia mosque was blasted while one died and many injured as well. Another most widely discussed attack took place at Haripur in Shiganjim Bogra. The muezzin was shot dead in the Shiite mosque and at least 4 men including the imam were injured while Maghrib prayer was going on. Bahrain. Over 2/3 of the citizen population of Bahrain are Shia Muslims. The ruling Al Khalifa family, who are Sunni Muslim, arrived in Bahrain from Qatar at the end of the 18th century. Shiites alleged that the Al Khalifa failed to gain legitimacy in Bahrain and established a system of political apartheid based on racial, sectarian, and tribal discrimination. Vali Nasser, a leading Iranian expert on Middle East and Islamic world, said, "For Shiites, Sunni rule has been like living under apartheid." 2011 uprising. An estimated 1,000 Bahrainis have been detained since the 2011 uprising, and Bahraini and international human rights groups have documented hundreds of cases of torture and abuse of Shia detainees. According to csmonitored.org, the government has gone beyond the crushing of political dissent to what appears to be an attempt to psychologically humiliating the island's Shiite majority into silent submission. Apartheid discrimination against Shia Muslims in Bahrain is severe and systematic enough for a number of sources to have used the term apartheid in describing it. Amin Izzuddin, writing in the Daily Mirror, asserts that after the dismantling of the apartheid regime in South Africa, Bahrain remained the only country where a minority dictated terms to a majority. More than 70% of the Bahrainis are Shiite Muslims, but they have little or no say in the government. The Christian Science Monitor describes Bahrain as practicing a form of sectarian apartheid by not allowing Shiites to hold key government posts or serve in the police or military. In fact, the security forces are staffed by Sunnis from Syria, Pakistan, and Balochistan, who also get fast-tracked to Bahraini citizenship, much to the displeasure of the indigenous Shiite population. Indonesia. On December 29, 2011, in Nangkranang, Sampang, Madura Island, a Shia Islamic boarding school, a school advisor's house and a school's principal house were burned by local villagers and people from outside. Indonesia is the most populous Muslim country in the world, which is dominated by Sunnis. A day after the incident, a Jakarta Sunni preacher said, "It was their own fault. They have established a pesantren in a Sunni area. Besides, being a Shiite is a big mistake. The true teaching is Sunni, and God will only accept Sunni Muslims. If the Shiites want to live in peace, they have to repent and convert." Amnesty International had recorded many cases of intimidation and violence against religious minorities in Indonesia by radical Islamic groups, and urged the Indonesian government to provide protection for hundreds of Shiites who have been forced to return to their village in East Java. Pakistan has been seeing a surge in violence against Shia Muslims in the country in recent decades. Over 1,900 Shias were killed in bomb blasts or targeted gun attacks from 2012 to May 2015. The violence has claimed lives of thousands of men, women and children. Shias make up at least 21% of the total population in Pakistan and come from different ethnic backgrounds. Doctors, businessmen and other professionals have been targeted in Karachi by Sunni Muslim militants on a regular basis. Hazara people in Quetta have lost nearly 8,000 community members. Most have been targeted by terrorist attacks by Lashkar-e-Jhangvi and Sipari-Sahaba Pakistan, which are Sunni militant organizations affiliated with Al-Qaeda and Taliban. In the northern areas of Pakistan, such as Parashina and Gilgit-Baltistan, Muslim militants have continuously been attacking and killing Shias. On August 16, 2012, some 25 Shia passengers were pulled out of 4 buses on Babusar Road when they were going home to celebrate Eid with their families. They were summarily executed by Al-Qaeda-affiliated Sunni Muslim militants. On the same day, 3 Hazara community members were shot dead in Pakistan's southwestern town of Quetta. Sunni extremists, aligned with al-Qaeda and the Taliban, are killing Shias by the hundreds in Pakistan, Saudi Arabia. In modern-day Saudi Arabia, the Salafi rulers limit Shia political participation to a few notable people. These notables benefit from their ties to power and in turn, are expected to control their community. Saudi Shias comprise roughly 15% of the 28 million Saudis. Although some live in Medina, Mecca, and even Riyadh, the majority are concentrated in the oases of Al-Hassa and Qatif in the oil-rich areas of the eastern province. They have faced long-term religious and economic discrimination. They have usually been denounced as heretics, traitors, and non-Muslims. Shias were accused of sabotage, most notably for bombing oil pipelines in 1988. A number of Shias have been executed. In response to Iran's militancy, the Saudi government collectively punished the Shia community in Saudi Arabia by placing restrictions on their freedoms and marginalizing them. Economically, the ulama were given permission to sanction violence against the Shia. What followed were fatwas passed by the country's leading cleric, Abdul Aziz ibn Baz, which denounced the Shias as apostates. Another by Abdul Rahman al-Jibrin, a member of the Higher Council of Ulama, even sanctioned the killing of Shias. This call was reiterated in Salafi religious literature as late as 2002. Unlike Iraq and Lebanon, which have a sizable number of wealthy Shia, Saudi Arabia does not. There have been no Shia cabinet ministers. They are kept out of critical jobs in the armed forces and the security services. There are no Shia mayors or police chiefs, and none of the 300 Shia girls' schools in the eastern province have a Shia principal. The government has restricted the names that Shias can use for their children in an attempt to discourage them from showing their identity. Saudi textbooks are hostile to Shi'ism, often characterizing the faith as a form of heresy. Salafi teachers frequently tell classrooms full of young Shia schoolchildren that they are heretics. In the town of Dammam, a quarter of whose residents are Shia, Ashura is banned, and there is no distinctive Shia call to prayer. There is no Shia cemetery for the nearly quarter of the 600,000 Shias that live there. There is only one mosque for the town's 150,000 Shias. The Saudi government has often been viewed as an active oppressor of Shias because of the funding of the Salafi ideology, which denounces the Shia faith. In March 2011, police opened fire on protesters in Qatif, and after Shia unrest in October 2011, the Saudi government promised to crush any further trouble in the eastern province with an iron fist. Saudi Arabia continues its anti-Shia campaign both domestically and abroad. According to The Independent, satellite television, internet, YouTube and Twitter content, frequently emanating from or financed by oil states in the Arabian Peninsula, are at the center of a campaign to spread sectarian hatred to every corner of the Muslim world, including places where Shia are a vulnerable minority, such as Libya, Tunisia, Egypt and Malaysia. Apartheid Saudi Arabia is often accused of practicing apartheid against its Shia citizens. Muhammad Taqi writes that the Saudi regime is also acutely aware that, in the final analysis, the Shiite grievances are not merely doctrinal issues but stem from socio-economic deprivation, as a result of religious repression and political marginalization bordering on apartheid. Turkey. There has been notable attacks against Shias in Turkey.